Padres Hot Tub is a community supported podcast. In fact, it's a podcast that's got its own community and you can be a part of it. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. That's where you can join the Padres Hot Tub community. It'll get you ad-free shows 12 hours before they come out on the main feed. Also, by the way, we're doing post-game shows for pretty much every win and even a couple of losses along the way. So let's just say by this point, if you had signed up as a patron at the beginning of the season, you'd have gotten about 90 bonus shows beyond what you've gotten in the regular feed. About 90. I don't have the exact number, but about 90. So we're putting in a lot of work, a lot of time in this very exciting Padres season. And if you want to get more than a weekly hit, if you want your full fix, place to go, Chris, is patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
It's certainly labor of love, but an absolute blast this season as the Padres continue to lift our spirits. Also, should be noted, a fantastic community over on the Discord, and the only way to access our Discord server is to become a supporter of the show. Lovely channels in there. Our fantasy baseball season is really starting to come to the head. Our playoffs will start in just 2 weeks here in our 7 division ladder league. Guess who's on top of C division this year, Craig?
Not you, I'm sure.
Yeah, Daddy's got a 7-game lead. It's gonna go down. It's gonna go down because I only won 5 this week. But lots of different things over in the Discord. It's available to you, as are the post-game shows, as are a whole wide variety of benefits that you can check out for yourself over at www.patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. I'm Craig Elston. That's Chris Reed. Rafi Cantor sends his regards from Grand Prairie, where he is away for the week. And I can't wait to hear those stories about a week from now. But the two of us are here, your OG 2.0s, to take you through an outstanding week of Padres baseball, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, Rafi said au revoir and oui, and a bon voyage, and he is now enjoying the fromage and some champagne and all the good things out there. But we get to enjoy a Padres series win over a couple of NL West division rivals.
Quick housekeeping. As mentioned, Rafi's on vacation. Chris will be out on a trip midweek this week. So later this week, those post-game shows that we were talking about in our Patreon ad will be held down by yours truly. Next week, TBD, in terms of who I can find to wrangle up on the show next to me as these guys are gone for Labor Day weekend. New merch available. It was released last week. Padres Hot Tub mugs. You can get yourself a Padres Hot Tub coffee mug that's got the Padres Hot Tub logo on one side, and on the other side it says, baseball is stupid and no one should watch. So tomorrow morning, you could drink your coffee looking at the baseball is stupid side. And then when the Padres beat Seattle on Monday, the next morning, you could look at the hot tub side and be like, yeah. So it's very, it'll fit your mood no matter what. It'll also fit your coffee or your tea or whatever else you want to put in the mug. All you have to do is go to padreshottub.com/merch. This time, don't go to Patreon. This time, go to padreshottub.com, which is a real website that exists, and click on the merch tab or do /merch, and you can find the mugs. Chris bought one. I bought one. So there's at least 2 sold. And no, there's been plenty sold, but you'll want one for yourself. It's a very nice mug. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree, and it's big. It's none of those little Joker clown mugs that filled, like one fluid cup. No, nobody drinks one fluid cup. We are in the over a dozen ounce club of caffeinated beverage of your choice. So do check it out. It is quite cool.
Lastly, Chris, let's welcome in again. We're over 600 members now on our
We
Patreon.
are.
Let's welcome some new patrons.
Yeah, there may be some repeats in here, but I don't care. We really appreciate all of you. Ernie Ian, Casey of Casey's Craves, Casey Gardner, old buddy.
Love it.
Becca, Friar Tormund, Chasen, Joshua, and Dana. Thank you all for hopping into the tub, checking out the Discord. And yeah, shout out to Casey's Craves on Instagram. Dude reviewing some Petco Park food. How about them oysters, Craig?
Um,
Deckman's.
has Casey reviewed the oysters? I haven't seen that
He
one.
has, yeah. He did, and overall, not a bad deal, and they were fresh and delicious, exactly what you would expect from a Deckman's joint.
You know, if I ever do eat the first oyster of my life, I think it will probably come from Drew Deckman, because I think that's probably the only way that I'll be able to convince myself. So I'll be like, this
Beautiful.
guy's won
Oysters are
like
beautiful.
6 Michelin stars or whatever. Like, I should trust him when he puts something in front of me. And if he puts an oyster in front of me, maybe I'll try it. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Last thing, last but not least, if you enjoy the show that we are doing, you might enjoy some of the other shows that we do as well across the Padres Hot Tub Network, including, if you are a fan of the television streaming universe, if you're somebody who, watches television shows, you might enjoy Crossing Streams, which Chris and I have revived, and we're 10 episodes deep in going through the latest things, such as Alien Earth, such
Face
as
huggers.
yeah. Oof. Yikes. I thought those were just Dodger fans, but it turned out something different. So anyways, you can check out Crossing Streams if you're a fan of San Diego FC, which just clinched a playoff berth in Major League Soccer. The co-production of Padres Hot Tub and San Diego Punto Football is a podcast called Chromaniacs, or The Chromaniacs, which myself, Tony Sanchez, and Alex Pena host, and you can check that out. So done, on to Padres Dodgers. I want to start broad and bright, okay? Because it's easy to get caught in the weeds when you're a winning team going through a playoff run. And I'll give a couple examples of this before we get into some happiness. Friday night, we did a Padres Hot Tub post-game show after a 2-1 win over LA. And a lot of people were in our chat that night going like, what, did we lose? What's going on? Because we were critical of process in that game. You get more critical of process when you're a winning team that's good, because every detail matters when you play other good teams. When you're a mediocre or a lousy team, sometimes that stuff is a little bit of sniffing your own farts, but when you're a good team, it matters. Another thing I saw earlier today in our Patreon, our Discord watch party, I saw a couple people early in the game, just like anytime someone expressed nervousness or anxiety or concern, it was like, oh, what's the matter? Don't you know? It almost like, don't you know how to fan? But someone was like, the last time I enjoyed being in this watch party was when the team was bad. And it brings me back to this point. Of course it is. Watch parties are fun when it doesn't matter. Watch parties are great when the stakes are low, so that when you win a game, it's cool, it's groovy. You won a game. Yeah. When you lost a game, well, we were thinking we were going to lose anyway. So it's not that big a deal. That is a fun time. A lot of people go like, oh, I miss the old days of Padres Twitter. And part of the reason of that was the Padres sucked. And so it was fun to do things like have the post-game threads on Twitter, with the dunking on the other team memes and all of that. That's great when you're a bad team, when Travis Jankowski just bounced a 2-run double off your outfielder's head or something, and you won a game, and then you put up 7,000 memes. I that's because there was no stakes. Now it's silly. When you're a winning team, you beat the Rockies and you put up 1,000 memes, you just look like a dick. So the point I'm making is that there's often an inverse correlation between your enjoyment of a team and the team's success. And you'd think it'd be the other way around. You'd think that you would love nothing more than the winning team and that you'd hate nothing more than the losing team. But stakes and anxiety in a game as miserably random and repetitious as Major League Baseball lead you to spin yourself into a circle every game as a committed, passionate fan when the stakes matter. And again, when the stakes don't matter and you're 70 and 92, it's very easy to be easy breezy. And just something I've really noticed in the fan base as we get closer and closer to nut cutting time here.
Maybe, in that post game show, we were getting a lot of flack just for, um, you know, going after stuff that we've gone after the club for all year, and I kind of get that. We're a bit of dog chasing your tail with some of the questions about the team's process. The dedication to certain things. Specifically in that game, it was bunting. It was bunting that got us frustrated because it wound up being an incredibly tight game, and the Padres basically manifest that when they give away outs. They in essence gave away a big inning in that particular game in a way that they didn't do the very next night, and those kind of juxtapositions kind of speak for themselves. At the same time, I'm really happy I became a baseball fan in the 90s before we had these cell phone things that kind of refresh our memory banks every day or so, and we get the short term, very short horizon and the very reactionary um, type behavior going on, because I still haven't been able to apply that to baseball. Like, these are all 1 of 162. I'm definitely not on the team, but I understand why players are required to have the very long mentality of it. Like, not don't get too up when you're up, don't get too down when you're down. You got to be slow and steady, because otherwise you're going to drain yourself before you have a chance to play meaningful baseball games. I try not to do that as a fan. Like, I try not to. I just try to enjoy watching baseball for the time that we're going to get to. Because, Craig, guess what? In a month and a half, month and 3/4, we're going to look up and baseball is going to be gone from our lives. And sometimes it can be stupid, but for the vast majority of the season, I loved watching this game, and it's been a privilege because this team for many years now, the Padres, have invested in being competitive. We're in the golden age of Padres baseball. We get a team that has a shot at it every year. Sometimes the scratchers don't work out. Sometimes at the deadline, they have to dig a little deep in the prospect pool. But by and large, this team's fun to watch, and I I I get why folks want to hear optimism right now. I get why they don't want to hear too much criticism, because the mopey smokes are real, and like, it can be a downer if you're in a room of people having a good time and there's one person in the corner going, oh, but what about that when Schmevy comes in. Like, I get it, but I think that this team is doing a lot of things really well. I think there's not a lot of picks I have to knit whatsoever, but
Or
there are
nits to pick.
questions. No picks to knit, either of them. I'm
Either
not
way.
gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do either too much. But
Well, well,
go ahead.
let's just get to this because honestly, I wanted it to be as far to the front of the episode as possible. Um, this was an outstanding week for the San Diego Padres in 2025. This was one of their best weeks. The
Yeah.
Padres had a 5-game winning streak. in the week. It was, sandwiched. The bread of the sandwich was a lost Monday and a lost Sunday, but in between was a 5-game winning streak in which they gained 2 games on Los Angeles. They started the week 2 games back, and they ended the week tied. And people, oh, well, tied, but the tiebreaker counts on the last day of the season only. Only. Today, the Padres and Dodgers are tied. We know at the end of the year that LA wins the division if they win it or tie, and that the Padres must win. So that's something we know, but there's 31 games left for each of the teams. And if the Dodgers go 17 and 15 and the Padres 17 and 14 and the Padres go 18 and 13, the Padres win the division. It is that simple. So of all the weeks of the season so far, this was a week where the Padres ended it with a known, now clearly defined, tangible path to winning the National League West. They just have to be 1 game better than Los Angeles, playing the easiest schedule in all of Major League Baseball over those 31 games. They just need a +1, and they take the West.
Yep. That's very doable. I mean, Padres right now, this moment, I think still have their highest win division probability out of Fangraphs. Maybe I don't think it ever got close to 50%, even when they had the games on the Dodgers. But right now, it's 43.3%. That's a coin flip, and like if anybody would have thought that, at any point prior to the last 15 days, really, they would have been laughed at. But here we stand, Padres in a dead heat with the Dodgers, with both teams almost certain to be playing meaningful baseball in October. And you can't complain. I mean, you can, but I don't want to listen to it.
Well, here's another positivity prompt. I think a lot of big, important, good things happened this week, in addition to just the results. I think there were certain signposts along the way that were tremendous. In fact, I came up with 3 great things I thought happened this week. You got the menu before we started. Do you have
I
3
did.
things that you could say, or the great things that happened this week?
For the week in particular, I mean, yeah, but there are a lot of the same ones you have, because like you, Darvish is my favorite player, and he came out and threw an absolutely dominating game Friday night. I think that's particularly huge because we're going to go into the playoffs with him penciled in as one of the guys, and to have him having any sort of return to form, just even for if it's for another start, just quieting the "is you Darvish dead" noise, like that makes me really happy.
Well, yeah, that would be my number 1 for the week. The best thing that happened this week is Darvish pitched so well against LA and looked so much more in control of what he was doing than before that it makes you feel a lot better than the week prior about Darvish going into the postseason and the Padres' ability to count on Darvish going into the postseason. Now, on previous episodes of the show, I've said that when I'm watching you, it reminds me of watching Joe Musgrove last year, somebody who's working his way around a known problem. In this case, it's even more known, I think, because Joe Musgrove did a good job of keeping his elbow a secret. We knew he was coming back from a shoulder problem last year. This year, Darvish basically says 3 times into the air a day, like, my elbow sucks, and into any microphone when he discusses his craft. But he looked for real on Friday night. And if he can keep that up the rest of the year, the Padres have a weapon that can match up with other teams' weapons in the postseason. That was a perfect example. He faced Snell on a night that Snell was really, really good, and he was
Yeah,
better.
yeah. uh, you know uh, and Blake Snell's 2 years removed from a Cy Young award. One of the ones that I have that you don't is Ryan O'Hearn has been a huge like focal point of the conversation around the team, just based on the fact that the first 2 weeks or so he wasn't given as much playing time as we kind of would have thought, considering he was a trade target and a big deadline acquisition. But Jackson Merrill goes down. He's going to be on the IL for um, just about another week, I think. Like the IL stint is by and large also a really good thing. Just from
Yeah.
Jackson's comments about it being like, I wanted to keep playing. No, good job, Padres. Way to be the adult in the room. Get that kid off his feet with an eye towards the future. But Ryan O'Hearn, last 7 games, over one dot in it. You're looking at an OPS of 1.076. He has forced Mike Schilt to make room for him in the lineup when
That's right.
Jackson's back. Like he has, like no question about it. And I think that if he had been given any sort of excuse whatsoever, Mike Schilt would not have felt that pressure at all. I think he would have been fine to just do status quo, you know, keep as many things as he's left them for as long as possible.
Correct. Um, that's a great call, Ryan O'Hearn. Um, well, I'll just go to what from that, just to piggyback from a kind of even topic standpoint. I'll go to what I thought was the third biggest thing that happened this week, which was that Gavin Sheets had himself a week. He had the opportunity finally to play every day again, which is what he had the entire season prior to the trade deadline. While everyone has been kvetching about Ryan O'Hearn not being in there every day, sometimes Gavin Sheets was in there not at all. He had like 5 at bats in 2.5 weeks. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he gets to play and was dynamite
Yep.
all week long against righties,
Just missed a
against
home run
lefties.
today, it sounded like.
Yeah. I mean, just tremendous. And I really think he's been missed in the lineup for his slugging. Speaking of the last 7 days, like you just did with Ryan O'Hearn, 316 average, 350 on base, 737 slugging for a 1,087 OPS. So very similar to O'Hearn, actually. If you go back 2 more games, it's even better. It's 348, 375, 739, 1114 OPS. Having, and here's the thing, having Sheets in the lineup is a nice thing. Having O'Hearn and Sheets in the lineup gives you a little bit of power all of a sudden. And then you've got Laureano too, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of pop. And this is a point I had made on a couple of different post-game shows during the week. And each time I feel like I raised an alarm bell back in the medulla oblongata for you there, Chris, because I said, like, well, when Merrill comes back, this will be. But just as point of fact, Jackson Merrill has hit about half the homers of Gavin Sheets this year. About half. And that's not an indictment. We know he hit 24 homers last year. Who knows? Maybe he'll hit 7 homers in the month of September, and he'll regain that power stroke like he did. Well, he had done it long before now last year. It was in June that he started hitting
But he still
homers.
had like a 3-week period where he put 10 on the board. Not
Yeah.
10, but I think it was 6 or 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So, maybe
Yeah.
that could still come back. But one of the Padres' biggest offensive problems that's not going to go away is their lack of slug. And when they do things that address their lack of slug, their offense improves. And part of this great week was by being forced, not by choice, but
Mm-hmm.
by situation, being forced into a more powerful lineup that wound up doing better.
Yeah, and we know they're not going to volunteer it. You know, we're going to talk about it later on show. The absolute hobby horse of our particular program this year is the Padres' choices surrounding Luis Ariz. and they're not going to change anytime soon. Luis not only doesn't have a home run in August, his slug is 341. That's a guy that isn't going to get any power out of the bat, and he's not the only one, right? I mean, there's a few Padres that aren't going to hit more than 10 home runs, and you're starting to hear the broadcast kind of make excuses. Like Bob Scanlon on the radio today was carrying some water for the club style of play, and rightfully so. Dave Roberts complimented the Padres style of offensive
Mm-hmm.
approach at the plate just the other night. Talking about how he wishes his club had a little bit more in it, and that's fine. That's good lip service, but I think Bob is off base when he says in the playoffs he would rather have um, that that gap to gap, feisty ball in play approach than a home run hitting team,
It's
because
ridiculous.
it's silly. It's kind of I don't want to use the type of word, but it's a denial of the modern game, and it's a denial of what happened to the Padres last year. You need power. You need the 3-run swing of the game like we saw today in the Dodgers' favor. That is such a huge card to put on the table, and anytime the Padres can make the choice to put those cards on the table, meaning in the lineup, I think it's going to bode really well for the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, you can go and find the stat you want. The 2015 Royals are the only team anywhere approaching a power profile of San Diego's that's won the world's championship in the 21st century. I think something like the last 5 or 6, I forget the exact number, but I heard this stat earlier this week. The last 5 or 6 champions all finished top 4
Yeah.
in homers. So, the Dodgers won the World Series with homers. Um, keep going, just go back. When the Astros beat the Phillies, Jordan Alvarez hit the big home run, that turned
When
the
the
game around.
Phillies beat the Padres in the NLCS, it was on the
Bryce
strength
Harper
of
hit
the
the
home
big
run.
home
Yep.
run. Like, you know, home runs win in the playoffs, period. So
Mm-hmm.
that's nothing but lip service. But um, regardless, Gavin Sheets had himself a week. Yu Darvish looks for real.
I
And
have one. I have
yeah,
one more because you can button it up with your guy because I think it's a little bit more powerful than mine. But the Padres and Mike Schilt like to hang their hat on playing clean baseball. They had one error this week, and we saw
that's
a
great.
Dodger series where they did not play nervous Nelly on the bases, didn't run into outs left and right.
Ramon
So,
Laureano.
well, yeah, there was one.
That was what.
There was one. But there was also Ramon Laureano taking away a grand slam today,
That was nice.
which the whole game looks different if he doesn't do that. And Tatis with another epic all season, all decade robbing of a home run. So like Padres defense is the caliber they need it to be, and they're playing that clean version of the game that they oh so love.
I think. I mean, I know the Padres have robbed at least 6 homers this year because Tatis has robbed 3, Merrill robbed 2, like in the same week he robbed 2. We just
Yeah.
saw Laureano rob a grand slam. That's 6. I was trying to think if anyone else in left had robbed a homer at any point this year, but I
I think
don't think
Hay
so.
I think Hayward might have got one. I think maybe I could be
Maybe.
having Jurickson Profar flashbacks.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's 6, but still, 6 is a lot.
it's a
Six
lot.
is a lot of homers to be dragged back, and 2 in a week is pretty amazing. I agree. The defense was good, and the Padres didn't shit their pants this weekend, and they also played a Giants team that made poopy pants all over the place, and they took
Yep,
advantage of it
very
to
dirty.
to, to win games. So that's great. Okay, last on our outstanding carousel, Nestor Cortez enters the chat. Here's a
Yeah,
guy that had just gotten bombed in the first inning of each of his first 3 Padres starts, had given up 6 runs in those 3 starts in the first inning, had pitched better after that, but had always put his team in a hole. Ruben Niebla challenged him. They switched things up, And this guy goes out there and pitches perfect baseball into the sixth against the Dodgers. Goes 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs. And the same week that Dylan Cease pitches another just kind of whatever game, uh, it is, I think, a pretty significant development. Not that this one game changes the depth chart or upsets the apple cart, but it creates the pathway for it. If Nestor Cortez goes out and gets dinked around again, he's just way at the bottom of the depth chart for this team. But he's a veteran who's been Cy Young worthy, who's, all-star level in his recent past. And if he's good enough to pitch big games, that's huge for San Diego, because we've got a guy in our rotation, as we know, that's not good at pitching big games.
I wonder if our fantastic beat reporter Kevin Acey will bring up Dylan's record against the Dodgers in the last part of last season to Mike Shilton in any press conferences. But Kevin also with a great tidbit in the report from last night's game that I missed on the radio broadcast, in that Nestor Cortez waved off Mike Shilton as
Yeah.
Mike Shildt walked out of the dugout to pull him, and using that veteran savvy, using the personality and the moxie that he has, said, no, I got this, man. And I think that type of attitude, that type of competitiveness out of the starting pitching is going to go a long way. We already know that Pivetta have it. We know Darvish is an absolute dog. Just getting another guy out there that is going to bring that attitude and that ownership to the bump bodes really well. I don't know, like if the apple cart would get tossed whatsoever. JP Sears still up on the team, at least until Michael King comes back. But Nestor's going to be on the club. He doesn't have options, and it might have been if he goes out and gets shelled in the first inning against the Dodgers, like it's at the time of the year where these irreversible decisions sometimes have to be made. And to see him come out, deal just awesome, and he's a guy that I root for all the way. Like, he's a character, man. We need more characters in baseball, and baseball's better with Nestor Cortez doing well.
I think it's a very exciting development. I truly do. I don't think there's another pitcher on the Padres roster. There's not going to be another pitcher that can possibly crack the playoff inner circle. But
Yeah, the
Nestor
four,
is one.
like he could do a game like a four.
Right.
Like, I don't think he's going to get the three, but he could get into the four maybe, depending on how Michael King does.
Like you'll hear me say again later in the podcast, I don't actually expect the Padres to do something this innovative. But Nestor Cortez has the exact same chance of being on this team next year as Dylan Cease, which is they're not going to be. I mean, I guess Nestor has a better chance.
I'd say better.
There's
like
yeah,
by a magnitude.
there's like
yeah.
But he's going to ask for some contract in the millions, and the Padres will not spend any money all winter again. And they'll wait because they're committed to all the salaries they're committed to. I believe they will both be gone. Let me just put it that way. I believe they will both be gone.
Yeah.
Come the winter. So there's no reason to be like, well, Dylan, you've just meant so much to us. We just owe it to you to give you that. No.
Yeah.
You owe him nothing. You owe him a qualifying offer at the end of the year. That's what you owe. That's what you owe Dylan Cease. You don't owe any outgoing free agent a gosh darn thing other than to make sure the check's clear at the end of the year. You don't have to be precious with their psychology or what they're going to think about their career or their earnings. You need to do what's best for the San Diego Padres. And I would love to see if, and only if, Nestor Cortez pitched like this 5 or 6 more times before the end of the year, and Michael King comes back healthy, a Pivetta, Darvish, King, Cortez playoff rotation.
Yeah.
With Dylan Cease as your we fell behind by 3 bring in Dylan Cease. Let him
Save the
just
bullpen.
let him just shove and throw 99 for 3 innings and see if that's a bridge
Yeah.
that can help you. You know, I really like that. I like that better than Dylan Cease putting you in that 4-0 hole and asking Nestor Cortez to come in and close the door for you.
Sure.
I like it the other way around a lot better. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Here is the exact schedule remaining for both San Diego and LA. At a flat-footed tie at this stage, the race begins now. Sprint. 31 days, not 31 days, but 31 games for each team. The Padres go to Seattle. They start with arguably their toughest series of the
Pitching
remainder of the
wise, for
season.
sure. Yeah.
At Seattle, a team that swept you here and is way better now with Naylor, with Suarez, all the additions they've had. Their pitching staff is getting back healthy. Seattle is loaded. And you play there. So that's your hardest series, and you're going to start with it. Then you go to Minnesota, which gutted themselves. Royce Lewis got a hit the other day, but they're a gutted version of themselves.
No, they're going to be facing Mick Abel and Taj Bradley, like big question marks coming out of their rotation.
Yeah, unless they face Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan's tough.
They do. They're slated, but that's the last game.
Well, Joe Ryan is really tough. So that's something to worry about. Otherwise, you should go to Minnesota and win too. Baltimore is a team that people have been throwing in the bad bin. Yeah, young players. They brought up the catcher Bilalo. They're not playing god-awful baseball. Baltimore is a team with nothing to lose at this point. They've already given up on their season. I think that's a tougher. I would rate that in the top 3 of tough series remaining in the season. I just if you take care of business, great. Then you go to Colorado for 3. That's the weekend the Savannah Bananas take over Petco Park. Padres will be at Coors Field. They come home to host Cincinnati, and then Colorado for 4. Then you go on the road for the last time, 3 at the Mets, a team in free fall.
Yeah.
3 at the White Sox, a team that's been in free fall for 2 seasons plus. And the last week of the season, you host Milwaukee.
And Craig?
Yeah.
What is the 3-letter acronym for Milwaukee, by the way?
Well, it's MKE.
What?
Yeah.
What?
MKE is
Craig, it's MIL.
Oh, that could be something.
Insane thing I have ever seen in our notes. MKE. They're playing
Milwaukee, as you know.
they're
Milwaukee.
Sorry. I had to be like, what the hell?
Yeah,
MKE?
literally.
That's an airport.
And they wrap things up with Arizona. I personally think the placement of the Milwaukee series is potentially sneaky very important because Milwaukee will have already wrapped up everything by the last week of the season based on their trajectory. Unless they, do a 2010 Padres and spend from like tomorrow through 2 weeks losing every game.
Yeah.
They are going to be wrapped up, completely wrapped up, everything cinched, and they're going to be just setting things in order, having 4-inning starts and lining up things. You could get a champagne-soaked, disinterested Brewers club the last week of the season. Now, as I do LA, there's going to be a kicker at the end, all right? Here's the Dodgers schedule. That was it. That was it for the Padres schedule. A lot of room to get hot in that schedule. I see 2 or 3 different areas. That at Colorado versus Cincinnati versus Colorado, right there, that's 10 games. Turn and burn. Go get these games. Then you go to the Mets. Then you go to the White Sox. You got a chance to really get hot. Here's what LA has. They start off their next series is hosting Cincinnati. Then they'll host Arizona. Then they'll go to Pittsburgh. Could Paul Skeens win the NL West for the Padres by never facing them and then just beating LA in a big game at the Confluence Park there at PNC Park? It's possible. We need a +1. Skeens could be the +1, that Pittsburgh series. They go to Baltimore. We get Baltimore at home. They go to Baltimore.
And just for on the note of how Baltimore's been, Baltimore is 5 games over 500 since June. Really abysmal first 3 months of the season. And then they've looked a lot like the team we've come to know since.
That's what I'm saying. They're not bad. They kept all their good young players. They traded away the free agents, and now here they are. Then the Dodgers get their last series against the Rockies. They get a 3-game home series against the Rockies. They go to San Francisco. They host the Phillies. They host San Francisco for 4 games. And they will wrap up the season on the road. When the Padres wrap up at home, where they're one of the 2 best home teams in baseball, the Dodgers will wrap up the season on the road at Arizona. And then their last series is at Seattle. And while I brought up that the Padres might be catching Milwaukee at the right time, getting them in the last week, it's just as possible that Seattle will be in a dogfight with Houston right to the last game.
Yeah,
and
they're
is
the next
more
closest division besides us.
Right. So that could be a series that both teams are playing their asses off to win their division. And LA is getting the very best of a playoff-ready Seattle team up there in Seattle last weekend of the series, of the season. Overall, I like the Padres' chances. Whether it's a 54% advantage, 53.5%, it's not huge. But I like these little tiny garden spots I'm seeing. And listen, they could be saying on the Dodgers Nation podcast, well, maybe Joe Ryan wins a game in Minnesota, just like I'm saying maybe Paul Skeens wins a game in Pittsburgh. You can go down the list, but I think that there's beyond just the strength of schedule. I think there's certain things within there when you really dig into the map that could favor San Diego by a game or 2. And that's all you need. All you need is 1 game. And you've got home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs, guaranteed. And you might never have to play LA again this year. You might never have to play LA one more time this year. We've talked. We're at 43 minutes or so, and we don't probably need to get into each one of these games in the level of depth that we did in the post games. Chris, we've talked through them to some extent already.
Yeah.
Right. 2-1 win Friday. Padres really just played small ball. They played a 1970s game like they were facing Steve Carlton. And I don't love the process of that because the single thing the Padres do the worst, other than hit homers, offensively is driving runners in scoring position. So giving up outs in order to just set up a chance at a runner in scoring position or 2 chances. I don't love that process. None of us do. I was listening to the pregame show today with Sammy Levitt. He had on Jose Mota, who actually did spring training games with like 23 years ago. He's a Dodgers broadcaster. I'm doing a podcast. I guess he did better. But when Sam asked him about the series and the matchup, literally the first thing Jose Mota said was, well, this Padres team, 40 bunts. I mean, who could imagine 40 bunts? I don't think the Dodgers have had 40 bunts in the 2020s.
No.
Nonetheless, that was Friday. Saturday, Cortez, we talked about it. Big hits from Ramon Laureano, Xander Bogaerts. No big hits for Los Angeles. Today's game, I would just say, 8-2, and everyone, when you read all the national write-ups, they're going to be, well, and the Dodgers romped and, answered one back. Yeah, but it was 2-2 in the 7th. Like, it was a
Yeah.
good game. And when, as you mentioned earlier, Ramon Laureano robbed Teoscar Hernandez of a grand slam and gave Nick Pivetta a chance to hit reset on an outing that was going disastrously to start, I really thought San Diego was probably going to win the game. When Elias Diaz then hits a 2-run homer, it was like,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Found money.
But if we were doing one of our post-game shows and we talked about our 5Ms, including the moment, I would have had a split M. And my moment would have been both of Gavin Sheets' leadoff doubles, neither of which came around to score. For a team that has worked so hard on being team little ball, they got a leadoff double and they couldn't get the guy home. And when you do that twice against LA, you're usually not going to win. And they didn't win.
They only averaged 3 runs a game against the Dodgers. I asked for a little bit more than that, and that's right at their line of being a winning team or a losing team, as we talked about a whole bunch this year. 4 runs, winning team. 3 runs, losing record, losing team. So, but the fact of the matter is they walked away with the series win. So, like, really tough matchup, tough club up there in LA. They're slowly getting healthier, but the Padres found a way to win 2 out of 3, and that's all they got to do the rest of the way out. And I think they're gonna be taking that first week of the playoffs off.
Well, I don't know if they will, because there's a whole separate matter of catching Philadelphia, which I believe is 22 games over 500 now.
Yeah, but they got a tougher schedule just inherently.
Yeah,
and they're going to be in a dogfight with the Mets. Like, that's a tough division too. I think they're up 5 games right now, but
Mets have to get hot, and then if they do, that means
yeah,
they're in the Padres' way. So, well, yeah, maybe.
that's my dream, Craig. Don't kill it.
Here's the thing. I hope everyone heard me clearly when I said I actually think the Padres should be slightly favored to win the West now. Like, I think they really can win the West. I believe they can do it. I see it. I do. I crunch the numbers. I like their odds. The LA series is over. The Padres went 4-9. And we can talk through everything, like today's talking point. I'm sure tomorrow talk radio is going to be filled with Jeremiah Estrada. Let me just say this in defense of Mike Schilt. Absolutely, Mike Schilt should have put Jeremiah Estrada in the game today, not David Morgan, in a 2-2 game in the 7th.
Yes, he's getting destroyed if he doesn't.
Right.
He's one of the horsemen, for crying out loud.
Does Jeremiah Estrada have a Dodgers problem? Yes. He's got it. This year, he's got a Dodgers problem. He admitted it. He said it today himself. He said, they know the color of my underwear. He literally said that. They were like, do you think they know what pitches? He goes, I think they know the color of my underwear. They know everything. They know what I ate for lunch.
It's the best.
Like, it was great. I agree.
Yeah. But I do not blame Mike Schilt for having confidence in the next time Jeremiah Estrada faces the Dodgers, being the competitive type of guy that's going to go out there and make the adjustments necessary. And I don't blame him for thinking he might have done it today.
If he had brought him in to face Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman, I would have been upset. He brought him in to face Pages and Conforto and so on, and Rojas and Rushing. And those were going to be the 4 guys that he got, because if Ohtani came up, Morejon was coming in. And he failed. He gave up 2 hits or a hit and a walk, and then he gave up a 3-run bomb, and then he gave up another hit, and then he was taken out of the game, and that runner scored, and, ta-da. Dodgers run off to win. Here's the good news. Jeremiah Estrada has an ERA of like 1.3 in 40-something innings against everyone that's not LA. And he may not face LA again the rest of the year. So put it in the rearview mirror. Little bookmark, keep the pin just in case the playoff series rolls around. At that point, we'll discuss Jeremiah Estrada's disgusting numbers, which are like literally an 18 ERA or so, and 5 home runs in 6 innings against LA. 5 home runs in 6 innings. Okay, that's like something that would be in the major league script. Did you see Fireball Estrada? He
Yeah,
can blow them
yeah.
all away, but not this team. You know,
Not against Lou Hayward.
not against exactly. Hayward takes him deep every time.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Um, but I think it's very clear, and it should be instructive for Padres fans that this is just a bad matchup for our team in this context. It's not just it's LA, it's the Dodgers, Dodgers. No, you could name them the Superbas again. You could name them whatever. You could throw the Brewers costumes on them, uh, the Angels costumes on them. This team is a bad matchup for our team. Why? Because that team, LA, their number one strengths directly attack our number one weaknesses. They have overwhelming power, and we do not. So while the Padres need to chain together offense to get a 3-run inning, they're going to need like 5 results. For the Dodgers, they need, a walk and a hit and then a bomb. And they do it all the time. They do it all the time. About half their offense comes from home runs. They've got overwhelming power. We match up with teams that don't have overwhelming power. We match up with teams that have to fight for offense just like we do because we've got the ability to hold teams down with our pitching staff and to keep runners on base and to strand them. But the one thing that is going to hurt any pitching staff is the long ball. So the fact that they can make that everyone on their team can homer, that their full strength team has just like 2.5 times as much power as our team, that's a bad matchup. By contrast, Milwaukee, which has the best record in all of baseball, you put our team against their team, and you're saying that Caleb Durbin and Bryce Turang and Sal Frelick and Joey Ortiz are going to have to beat us. Are they going to beat us with the long ball? Or are they going to have to chain off? I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Anything's
Just watch what you
possible.
manifest here,
They,
Craig.
baseball
Devil
is
magic.
baseball is stupid. Anti-jinx. I'm just saying, of course, anything could happen. But the Cubs, the Brewers, even the Phillies have Harper, they've got some power, but it's not like it was a couple years ago where even like, oh God, even Realmuto is going to hit 28 homers or whatever. Like
Yeah.
only LA has the level of power that really makes it a bad matchup for our team. I like the matchup against pretty much everyone else. So
I mean, yeah, they have fucking 500 million in their first 3 batters. Just little hat tip to the Padres for neutralizing Otani until, you know, extra junk ball home run that he hit today. But I like the Padres demonstrating the first 2 games of the series, the at bats they're going to take against the Dodgers arms.
yeah. Well, and that's the other big strength that they have is that they've got fastball outstanding starters. And our Padres hit breaking balls pretty well as a ball club. But you can see it with Snell, all these guys. They've got great, but fuck the Dodgers. Officially, fuck the Dodgers. The
Mm-hmm.
goal should be, and it's not bashful or whatever, is to never play them again. Get in the other side of the bracket and let someone else beat LA. And it can happen. And take your chances with literally anybody else. If it comes to it, we'll get to it. But short of that,
I'm
fuck them.
not afraid of him, Craig. The only thing that's a drag about um them facing the Padres for me is that I don't get the games on TV during the regular season, and the playoffs I'll get them. So I'm not afraid of the Dodgers. Like they've got a hubris and arrogance and like a thirst that I think the Padres can exploit, and I'm not afraid of them. But I mean, um, anytime that you don't have to face Shohei, Freddie, and Mookie, you do take that too.
Yeah, I am afraid of them. and I'd rather not face them. So fuck them, and I hope that they trip on a curb on their way out the door. Okay. I saved it all for last because we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. We're almost on the hour.
Yeah.
There are certain things that we would just like to see change. And you can listen to any one of 80 shows we've done in the last 2 months to say that Luis Ariz shouldn't be hitting second for the San Diego Padres. The numbers are crystal clear. But the one thing that people have been really, and I've talked about it, Chris, right? Why would San Diego keep writing Luis Ariz's name into the lineup? They're not looking at what he's doing. It's what they think he might do.
Hold on. Let me give you the look that Mike Schilt might give you if you ask this question.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah, go.
Oh, go ahead. What?
Go.
Well, did you know that Luis Ariz is having his worst month as a San Diego Padre? That in the month of August, he's hitting 250 with a 277 on base percentage as the number 2 hitter. 250, 277, 341, a 618 OPS, which is positively Ray Ordonez-esque. Okay. Cesar Izturis. Think about light hitting shortstops. Luis Ariz is hitting like that, but he's supposed to be an elite hitting second baseman, not a light hitting shortstop. And by the way, he's not even a second baseman. He's a first baseman. And so that makes it like way worse. But his only month of the year that he had hit over 300, July 323, he immediately pops back to 250. If you get a little more granular, in his last 2 weeks, he's hitting 231 with a 250 on base percentage. And against lefties the entire year, Luis Ariz is hitting 253 with a 277 on base percentage, 335 slugging for a 613 OPS. That once again is Ray Ordonez-esque. So all we'd really be asking of the Padres is to read the instruction card. Like when you opened up the Ariz package, like read the instructions, because this is a broken toy right now. And the fact that you're giving him the second most at bats on the entire team.
Yes.
It's getting to the point that this truly can be the edge upon which the Padres fall if it lines up that way.
And back to your guy, Craig, that you brought up. He's only started 7 games this month. He's only appeared in 11. But Gavin Sheets, month of August, he has an Ariz-esque 308 batting average. He's one dotting it on the year. And if you just get into the platoon splits of the guy during the season, he's hitting a full 76 points lower on the OPS, and has a 30-point higher batting average left-handed than he does right. Power numbers way down. Opportunities are also way down. But he has not been a slouch. He is a league average hitter in the split against left-handed pitching this year, and that's better than Ariz. And if you look at the other guy in the lineup who might take some, comparison to Ariz, Jacob Cronenworth, he's basically doing exactly what Gavin Sheets is doing. 101 OPS in the split as opposed to a 99. 694 OPS plus, 100 being average. 694 OPS. Like, both these guys are outperforming Luis Ariz, and Ryan O'Hearn's blowing him completely away. So if you're looking at any sort of measurement this year, Ariz is 4th on the team of those 4 dudes. And it's not just that you won't bench him, it's that you're batting him behind Fernando at the top of the order.
Yeah, and again, this is the official Padres hot tub hobby horse for the second half of 2025.
It's been since the first half. We've been on this for a long time, since the bunting started.
Right.
So since Luis Ariz set his career high for bunts back in April.
But even then, even in May, even in June, there was always the possibility of that second half takeoff, bat 450 for 2 straight months, and even just hit 400 for 2 straight months, and remind everyone that you're Luis motherfucking Arise and stop worrying about me. Well, as point of fact, just looking at his Savant page and his rolling ex Woba, it's all the way down to 274.
It's bad.
274. Every one of his he's got a career low exit velocity. He's got a career low expected batting average. He's got a career low ex Wobacon. He's got a career low hard hit percentage. In fact, all the way down to 15%. He was at 30 in his other batting title years, all the way down to 15%. So,
Oh, cuz you just said the word. Yeah, how about them?
3
Cuz
batting titles.
yeah, how many batting titles did Gavin Sheets have?
How
How
many have
many
you won,
batting
cuz?
titles?
Just
Yeah, how
asking the
many you
question.
got?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
answer the question, but I just don't get how you could ever talk bad about a 3-time batting champion. Well, if you're going to manage in a trophy case, you're not going to fill that case with any championship trophies. All right, you never will. You can look at your team's Cy Young awards and your Gold Gloves and your batting titles and everything else, but if that's how you're going to manage, you're not going to get the trophy that matters at the end. Mike Schilt is a problem for this team in a small way. He's also been a big, huge, huge part of the solution for 2 years. But I am starting to get how the Cardinals could run him out after 3 years of 90 wins and division titles and send him packing, because he does certain things that are stubborn, and he does certain things that are insufferable. And
And you can see why some players love him. The Athletic did this very wide ranging pool of MLB players,
yeah,
of like managers you would want to play for and managers that you would no way, shape, or form have anything to do with, that you would hate to play for. And way more guys answered the poll about who they want to play for. And I think Mike Schilt was in a tie for like sixth or seventh in that particular poll, but he was in second or third place on the poll of managers that you would not want to play for under any circumstance. And
right.
that tells you something.
Yeah, that he rubs you the wrong way after time is what I think I'm seeing. But his strategic inflexibility is very frustrating.
I would say playing teachers' pets. I would say playing favorites. Like
Yeah.
that would be one thing that would frustrate a clubhouse.
Yes. And also just being constantly. I was thinking about this on the drive home from working at Wave tonight. And I want to say this in a more positive way, because I don't want it to sound like I'm trashing a guy who's an excellent manager that's 22-13 in the second half. Okay. Um, he's once again winning a lot of games. Um, but I love Mikey Varas, the head coach of San Diego FC. Love. I posted on Blue Sky earlier today. I wish Mikey Varas could coach all my teams. And by that, I include the Padres. I wish Mikey Varas could coach the Padres, because he creates these genuine connections. I would invite you to go to San Diego FC's Instagram and see the clip of him inside the locker room last night after a 0-0 draw, but his team clinched a playoff berth, and talking to his team very honestly, and also challenging them and saying, "Y ahora qué? Y ahora qué? Now what?" Because he was saying, "Hey, we've made the playoffs. Now what? Y ahora qué?" And there was so much passion and realism in it. And then you ask Mikey Vadas questions at press conferences, and he gives you real answers. Honest,
Mm-hmm.
honest answers. Vadas says something. He said it at the beginning of the year, and he's held to it. He said it back in training camp before we knew him and he played a game. He said, the outstanding players, of course, are in our lineup. And of course, the players who play poorly are out of the lineup. But the players who play average to slightly above average, those are players whose spots will be challenged in the lineup, because we're not looking for average to above average. We're looking for the best possible. And if you're just playing above average, there might be somebody behind you that can play better than that. And he's held to it. He's taken guys out of the lineup and moved guys around the lineup, even guys who had Hey, cuz, did you forget when that guy scored 2 goals? Forget when that Angel scored 2 goals early in the season? Like, no, he doesn't do that shit. He's like, Angel isn't playing well. We're going to sit him because we need a better performance. I guarantee you, Luis Ariz would have been on the bench a month and a half ago if Mikey Varas was the head coach, the manager of the San Diego Padres, because average to above average, you are challenged. You aren't petted on the top of the head and said, there, good boy. You're challenged. And I would
At
love to see
least
more of
when the
that.
Padres went and got Ryan O'Hearn. At least when that trade was made. Because like there weren't many options behind him at the time. Like yeah, Gavin Sheets. Gavin Sheets had a terrible June. You have Cronenworth playing the position, but behind him not really. But since that trade was made, since you added those reinforcements, seeing the hole, seeing the lack of production, and then just when Jackson Merrill comes back, are those guys just gonna fall out in favor of what we've seen? Like that, the word accountability gets thrown around a lot, and I tend to be that's an easy word to use from the outside, from the fan perspective, but I do think it's applicable here. I do think that accountability on a championship roster means you can't be average. It means you have to be extraordinary and at least at what you're doing. And if that's providing vibes, that ain't enough.
Yeah, vibes, whatever. His performance has been really, really poor, and it's negatively affected the offense in a big way. And it's a defensive drag as well because O'Hearn is distinctly better at first base. And so look, change it, Padres. Fucking change it. You've got an opportunity when Jackson
I
Merrill
think
comes back.
I think you said this really well, Craig, during one of the post game show when you talked about this being a lack of a better analogy. It's a shot you get to fire once, and then your
Yeah,
powder's gone.
yeah.
Because if you do that and it doesn't work, then you're left with a clubhouse that likes Luis Rise, and if it doesn't work, then you're like, okay, well now I'm never doing that again. Like tried it, got burned, never can't do it, never going to do it. But the timing is getting the Swiss cheese is starting to line up. You got the reinforcements that have arrived. You've got continued really bad performance, and you've seen the alternative. You're getting to the point in the schedule, in the meaningful high leverage championship games where power is needed, and it's something the club doesn't have, and he won't ever give it to you, no matter what you wish out of him.
If he was hitting 325, I wouldn't get it because he'd be giving you what he can. But he's playing the worst baseball of his career, and he's having the worst season of his career. And you don't owe him, gosh darn thing. You owe him nothing. He's going to be gone at the end of the season either way. The one thing you owe it is you owe it, and you're right. Just to reinforce what you said. The point I was making on that post-game show that when you've got a guy that's this interlaced into the clubhouse, right? And you know that the day that you put his name out of the lineup, that Manny's going to poke his head into the window of the manager's office, and so is Tatis, and maybe so is Bogarts, and maybe so is Merrill. Like a lot of maybe not, maybe so, but a lot of
Yeah.
players are going to be like, "Hey, what the hell? What's going on?" And Luis is going to be devastated, and he's going to talk, and he's going to cry, and it's going to be a whole thing. And like the pressure really would be on to go out and score 7 runs and win 5 games in a row and bury it in the past. Because it's just really, once you do it, you have to stick to it and turn Luis Ariz into Lenny Harris. Just turn him into an ace pinch hitter, and otherwise never play him. Honestly, like just never play him. Just like put O'Hearn at first, put Sheets at DH. Iglesias is the guy who comes in, and that's that. Um, and honestly, that's the very last thing I would say is just seeing us lining up against all these elite lefties. The last couple of just this week, Robbie Ray, Blake Snell. Um, we came away from the trade deadline saying now the Padres have a complete team, and they mostly do. But I do see one. If I could have had one more thing, one tiny little more thing, it would have been just one more right-handed bat. Because right now our DH is Iglesias against lefties, and it's just, and honestly, it's going to turn into maybe Sheets instead. Because you just playing Iglesias at DH makes no sense. Half of it, like 60% of his value is defense. So just
He's
playing
coming
the
in a week,
offensive
Craig.
side. What's that?
He's coming in a week. On September 1st, the rosters expand. Maybe
No, Will
maybe
Wagner's already
Rick,
here. They called him up
no,
today.
can't be. The cries from the chanting from El Paso grows louder as he breaks Nuke LaRouche's 30-year home run record.
I mean,
It's not gonna
never in the history
happen.
of the game has a player been talked about more by one tiny fervent segment of a fan base that literally doesn't have one big league hit. And it's August fucking 24th. Oh, for the season. No hits.
Stat.
None. Not even one. Not even a broken bat bleeder. Not even a 68 hopper to the third baseman. None. And yet we're still chanting his name. What, so we can ground into four more double plays?
No way.
So we can hit another pop out to left field?
It is going to be Will Wagner, but he's left-handed. We need the right-handed. We need Campy for the stretch run. That's the only way to it.
I'm just fired up for Willie Wags, otherwise known as Billy Bags. Just got to get him going. Anyways,
I hear what you're saying. I think Ramon Laureano kind of covers all the right-handed thump. Like he really gets it done for me, and I know like that's it. That's the end of the depth because Jose Iglesias is the guy behind him, and oh my god.
Oh my God. It's not very powerful. Light a candle. It's a little one, though, a candelita. Light a candle for the Padres power. Okay, that's it for this week's show. Padres again in Seattle, in Minnesota. You're leaving what, midweek?
I will be gone Wednesday morning, so hopefully able to do a post-game show tomorrow.
Yeah.
Able to do a post-game show the next day. But then I will be gone from Wednesday until Monday night, and like gone, like in the woods, gone.
Wow, outstanding. We will find your way back though, and so I'll be a solo soldier with all of our Padres Hot Tub patrons the rest of the week. But thanks for being here. If you've gotten to the end of our video and you haven't clicked thumbs up on YouTube, click like, subscribe, little comment. Appreciate you. On podcast, 5-star review. If you can click that, if you'd be kind enough to leave a positive review, all those things really help. Hope Rafi's loving life in Europe. For Rafi and Absentia and Chris right there, I'm Craig right here saying, Go Padres!